Greetings, nerds. This is Cena Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How are you doing this Thursday evening?
I'm doing good. It's the end of February.
It is. This month has like zipped by.
All right. Do you want to start with the Black History Month entertainment moment? Last one of this month?
Last one for this month. Hope everyone's been enjoying these features. And like I said, I try to dig a little deeper than just like actors and that kind of stuff. And so today I have a pioneering filmmaker and television producer. Her name is Madeline Anderson. And she is often credited as the first Black woman to produce and direct a documentary film. She was also the first Black woman to produce and direct a syndicated TV series, and also the first Black employee at a New York-based public TV station. And she was also first Black woman to join a film editors union. And so some of the things that folks probably are very familiar with that she had a role in was Sesame Street. She was an in-house producer for Sesame Street and the Electric Company on the Children's Television Workshop. And the syndicated TV series that she did was a program in the 70s called the Infinity Factor, and it was basically teaching math and science to themes show that was targeted towards inner city youth, and so that was the syndicated show that she did. And as far as the documentary, the documentary was called Integration Report 1, which she was the producer behind that, and it was a documentary about the planning for the first march on Washington in the 1960s. So that was the film that she was credited as a director for, and she also did another one called I Am Somebody, and did some shorts tribute to Malcolm X. So drop a link to the Smithsonian where you can read all about her. There's a great video about her experiences and stuff in their Cinema Plus Conversation series as part of the Oral History Projects at the Smithsonian, and I'll drop that in the show notes where folks can learn more about her and her work.
That's cool. That's very cool. Yeah, and I think it's been good with all the spotlights and just expand, dropping little pieces of entertainment history and knowledge. I think that's always good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know in doing this weekly for our show, I really did, like I said, try to go a little bit deeper than what are the top 10 Black films or that kind of stuff. I was really trying to learn some new things for myself, because I did not know about Madeline Anderson prior to doing our prep for this week. And then also, so hopefully educate our listeners as well.
I just have a question about the top 10 Black films.
Yeah.
Is Love and Basketball anywhere on that list?
Yeah, it is. Well, I guess it depends if you go by genre. Genre. Well, I tried to make sure it was things sort of in our space. But yeah, Love and Basketball is one of them. As far as I think overall. But,
I respect that, because I adore that movie.
Yeah.
It's arguably one of the Blackest movies that I'm really familiar with.
Yeah.
I just adore that movie so much. And do you want to play again? I own it on DVD and everything. I watched it so many times when I was after it came out. So I think that is a requirement. So I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, it's definitely there. Yeah, I gotta check now. We have to see if it's in the film registry, because it may, if it's even eligible, but it might be at this point, because it's just it's been around for several years. But
was it? I think early 2000s. I want to say 2001. Yeah, because when their high school days, it was the early 90s to mid 90s. So yeah, that sounds about right. All right. Well, to jump on to another one of Will's favorite topic that he was going to ask me about during the pre-show, but decided not to.
Yep.
Because he kind of figured what he would get with my answer. And so the Andor trailer dropped earlier this week, and I watched a good 75% of it.
Okay.
Not because it was bad. Not because it was bad.
Yeah.
I don't want to know anything.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I saw stuff, and I was like, that's cool. It looks great. It looks good. Moving on.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it was a definite vibe with the Steve Earle song, the revolution starts now. And I thought it was, I know I saw it's like mixed reactions to folks about the score that they used in the trailer. Some people really liked it. I really liked it. I thought it was a perfect vibe. Really captured. Yeah, I thought it was perfectly captured, and really, captures. I mean, that song really is captures the whole thing about the rebellion, which started out as a local thing and then became a big, in Star Wars universe, galactic movement.
Right.
And so and also I thought the visuals, I think for folks who've watched Andor, that yes, there was action, but it was really a lot more drama, a lot more intense. The politics and stuff, and the growth, obviously the growth of the Empire was really more, what that first season was all about, and Andor's journey as far as his coming into getting recruited, falling into the rebellion and all. But so I thought the trailer was just like a lot more like geared towards people who think that traditionally of Star Wars, like the laser battles and starships and stuff flying around and that kind of stuff. But I'm looking forward to it, and also just to remind folks too that when the episode it is when we dropped over 4 weeks, and each week they dropped the 3 episodes, to chronicle, I guess, a year in Cassian's journey as the final episode leads into Rogue One. So
yeah. Like that's also kind of why I stopped watching, because it was a reminder that Krennic's in this, and I'm like, oh, okay, so they're gonna end it very similarly to how Rogue One ends.
It'll get us right to that moment where we see,
when we first meet Cassian.
Yep.
So, but what is your take on this 3 episode a week rollout? So it's a 5-week stretch, 4-week stretch?
4-week stretch, 12 episodes. Stretch? Yeah.
And also, can I just also throw out another thing, because it's Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. They're doing this, and they're also dropping them all on a Tuesday.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, I believe it is still Tuesday. Yeah. So, yeah, as far as the dropping it, so when you think about the first season, I mean, there were in 3 episode arcs. So, So it tracks with that.
Like one at a time, and it worked out fine.
Yeah, I thought so too. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm mixed. I have mixed feelings about it, to be honest. On the one hand, it's just like great, because basically I'm like, okay, I just need to know that I just need to block out like basically a feature film length block of time to like watch these 3 episodes, because if I don't, I'm gonna get spoiled. But on the other hand, to your point, yeah, I mean, the 1 episode a week rollout was great. So I don't, so maybe it's something in their data or metrics that is driving them to do it, because it's clearly a choice.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we just got adjusted to this whole, let's drop between 1 to 3 episodes to premiere. I mean, Paradise dropped 3 episodes, mm-hmm. and the shorter seasons, and you're dropping a hunk. And it's just I just wonder where that stems from, who thought? And then you have Netflix within the last year and a half have been doing the whole part 1, part mm-hmm. 2, Cobra Kai, you get 3 parts.
Yeah.
So it's very, I don't know if it has something to do with streaming services trying to because streaming services first found success with the binge.
Yeah.
But also are not finding sustainability with the binge because once you binge it, you turn off your subscription and you move on.
Right.
So then you're trying to entice with these properties that viewers are going to come on board. Like they've already started the journey. They might as well finish it, so to speak. Yeah. So it's kind of like this little trail, but I'm sure that the Andor, especially because what you were saying too about how each chunk is 1 year, and this is like going into this, we know that there's going to be it's going to be very fast paced in terms of time. Yeah. So I can understand that from a story perspective, it's good. But it'll just be interesting to cover.
Yeah. It definitely will. It definitely will, because I know we'll have to figure out our scheduling matrices as far as with the overlap of Andor, Last of Us, and a little bit of Daredevil as well. So
I don't think there should be that much overlap with Daredevil. I was looking at that the other night.
Yeah, I think it's just 1 week, if I recall, maybe.
Well, yeah, but I think there's a way where there wouldn't be any. But we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that leads us into the last chunk of news, which leads us into our main topic of conversation tonight. Paradise Season 2. So it's been renewed. And as mentioned, when we first started covering the show by Will, the showrunner has already noted that Season 2 is in the bag.
Yep.
So it's just written. It's not been filmed.
Right. Yeah. I wish it were filmed, because but hopefully we'll get. I think I recall Fogelberg said that they were planning on trying to get it out in 2026. So if they were renewed, and thankfully they did get the renewal, and I love I know you shared with me Sterling K. Brown's little reel, the hand. Yeah, that was like chef's kiss, as far as just like why not only why he's just so awesome, but why the show is so awesome. But
yeah, I thought it was good too. And then all of the videos yesterday that came out with Supernatural and the boys being reunited on The Boys for the final season, I was just like, oh, they won up Sterling.
Yeah.
They won up Sterling. Because I mean, I've said, like, I watched a fair amount of Supernatural. I've watched a lot more of their whole, like, Jared, Jensen, and Misha just on the road, going to all of the Supernatural cons and talking about the behind-the-scenes hijinks. Like, the stories they tell and how they were still able to make a show, like a 23 episode a season show for 15 years it's beyond anyone's like
and still talking to each other, especially it's great.
Yeah. And their families are so tight. It's so funny. I mean, it was with Crypty behind the scene, it was only a matter of time. I mean, once Jeffrey Dean Morgan, you got the father involved, it's just like, all of the kids have to come and play. So very excited for both season 2 of Paradise and the final season of The Boys. And that just brings us to the penultimate episode of Paradise Season 1, The Day. Sinatra and Xavier confront the past and return to the harrowing day that brought them to Paradise. But before we get there, it starts off on October 28th, 1962, with the Cuban Missile Crisis. So here's my thing. Here's my question. And the little thing that just kind of bothered me and kind of makes me want to just scan, because I swear this sound motif of the light flickering, we've heard like since the first episode.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I always thought it was a ticking clock.
I did too. I didn't know. It was a sort of background atmospherics for me. I did not know if it was a ticking clock or what, but you're right. I mean, it's been there. It's been there. I
Right.
mean, yeah, there's like several things this episode that and I was watched it twice, but several things that just came back into focus throughout this episode. And we talked about before how there's no wasted piece of dialogue or scenery or anything in this show, and to your point, that sound was definitely not one.
Yeah. I really like that. And it also took me a while. And it also, even at the end of the cold open in the past with this general who's nameless for us, and
Yeah.
he just starts turning on and off the switch, I was just like, okay, you're going a bit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't know. But then the beauty is so much happens between then and the payoff.
Yes.
You completely have, like, you don't, it's just the seed has been planted.
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue that Cal's the wrong person and he makes the wrong choice, which is what Xavier believes.
Right.
As the story unfolds, we find out that no, there was a different switch, and that all goes back to the beginning. It is a great episode and a great, it felt like a mini disaster movie.
It did. And
down to the horrible, like, kind of insane newscast.
yeah, it's funny about those newscasts. So I was reading the writer of the show of this episode mentioned that they actually pre-recorded all those newscasts. And so when the cast was watching it while they were filming, that was their like genuine reactions whenever whenever they were watching the broadcast in the outside the Oval. So, because they're really trying to get that, that 9/11, whatever disaster feeling that people, that really gut reaction. So, yeah, I mean, just the level of detail that they put into this episode, and just given the nature of it was really intense. I watched this episode twice, and it just hit, even though when you know what's coming, it still hits just as hard, probably even more so the second go around. Whenever I was watching it, because I mean, you could really get into it, and just having, not obviously not to this global scale of what we saw in this episode, but just in my own personal experience and having and the type of work that I do professionally, being in that room with people who are having to make decisions like what the president was, what Cal and everyone and his advisors, it definitely, this episode just resonated with me on just so many levels, because of that intensity, and just the decisions that were having to be made, and the dialogue and everything about it. So, yeah, I mean, this was this one was one, after I watched it the first night, I just sat there for just a moment, because to your point, it was just the disasters and the cascading impacts from the disasters, which I thought was really captured pretty, they did a good job of just sort of fleshing all that out, and we'll get into it more, but that's just sort of my opening thoughts of the episode as well.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I mean, it comes to light fairly quickly that it's a combination of things, because at the beginning of the season, there was speculation like, okay, was it missiles, or was it a natural disaster? So I like how both are true.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we learn is that a super volcano erupts in the Antarctic, and that causes a massive tsunami to occur, which leads to horrible stuff. Simultaneously, you got a bunch of leaders who are looking at land that is off the board, and then also an opening to get their own land, and leads to a missile crisis again.
Yeah.
So you have though, I can appreciate that it wasn't one or the other. It was both, which makes a lot of sense for the very complicated dynamic that we were presented with in the present day between Cal and Xavier on Cal's final night of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There has to be a better way to say that.
No. Yeah, no. I mean, it just it painted. We've always wondered. I mean, we've gotten bits and pieces of what. We knew that because of that fateful day, something happened, but then seeing it all play out, and we get the flashback, in prior episode of Cal trying to tell Xavier it's not good for tell your wife maybe it's not a good time to go to Atlanta, and then of course in this episode when they're when Xavier has the realization that that Cal knew that there was no way she was going to make it, and just every and in that moment there on the tarmac where it was no longer a president Secret Service agent, it was father to father, husband to husband, and I think that was the other element of that was just so strong about this episode, in that it was the human element of it. Yeah, you had all these catastrophes going on around the world, but it was just but it took the big, and then it really brought it beautifully acted and executed back to this grounded level of like, in this crazy thing where Cal is trying to make decisions about what's going on, Xavier's trying to get the president out. They're still having that very human moment of us like trying to, Xavier, frantically trying to get to Terry the directions as far as how to get out there and try to get her to the airport, the Air Force Base, so she can keep up with them and everything. Right. And and then they're on that tarmac, and Cal's like, look, get your head out of get your head. You got 2 kids on this plane. There's 8 billion people out here who would love to have your seat. Are you coming with me or not? And just like really help try to pull Xavier back into focus. And also just seeing Xavier, who's always like, whenever they've had their previous interactions, just always so, so level-headed and cool, but seeing that passion and pulling that, and Cal pulling that.
Well, it was a different, to your point, it's not what we saw in the previous episode where somebody has done him wrong and he wants vengeance, and so he's going to go a bit crazy and put on a show. No, it was the other where it was hopelessness, and I think it was more, that conversation is more about Cal also self-servingly trying to say, focus on your wins, on those you were able to save. Don't focus on the one you had to let go and couldn't. And we can't hold this up. And I think why it worked is because you are able to connect the microscopic to the larger picture so well. Because you have the speech, like Cal throughout this entire episode, it's unsettling, it's rattling him the secret of the bunker, and also this impending disaster that has been weighing on him, and now that it's finally coming to fruition, he's just like, and I'm still lying, and I'm still telling everyone it's going to be okay. My janitor is still cleaning this house. And acting like everything's going to be fine. And what surprised me more, maybe not surprised, but I think what stuck out to me also was more about how Xavier, you're having to balance the whole, and both of them to an extent are having to balance that. Yeah, you're worried about your wife, you're worried about your children. The world is going to shit right now. You still have a job to do.
Yep.
You still have a job to do. And I think it was a tightrope, because his job is the only reason why he's able to get him and his kids, potentially his wife, on that plane.
Yep.
You know, that's the only reason.
Yeah.
So he can't abandon ship.
Nope.
He has to stay the ground because he's just like, I can't lose them all. This is I thought that was very well done. And I just also, I mean, to your point about the human element, it's also the turning of the people, that escalation when suddenly the staff turn on them because they're like, oh, they're getting out and leaving us behind. So yeah, which is a whole nother thing. I mean, selfishly, I really like this episode because, again, I'm right. Samantha.
Samantha's a monster. She's a straight up monster. But anyway,
She's not. Have you watched any movie? Like, she's not.
No, I was messing with him.
That's the bad things. It's just so funny to me.
Yeah.
But yeah. So they end up getting on the plane. And right after Robinson shoots Ryan in the head. Yeah. Because he was about to turn his gun on Xavier because he was not getting on that helicopter.
Nope. He was not cleared for Versailles. And actually, one of the things I thought, ever since they revealed this whole protocol, the Versailles Protocol, and it gets to the larger philosophical things that was also, at display with this episode, to your point about people realizing that some are going to be going out like Xavier and the president, and some are going to be stuck behind like Marsha. I was like, why? Well, I guess the term Versailles, it was based, as we all know, is the palace in France where the kings and or former French kings will go and everything, and I thought about it, was just like, that's a good, I guess, analogy or whatever for this bunker for paradise. I was interested. I was like, that's interesting they called it that, but it actually really is like the haves and have-nots, because I was just like,
they didn't build an ark. They didn't build an ark. They built a bunker that they knew could only hold a certain amount of people, and that's also why they couldn't tell everyone.
Right.
Is because the more people, so you understand the logic in it, even though it is a bit of a moral dilemma at the end of the day, especially when things start to go wrong and suddenly you're looking face to face with a staff member who has a sick son, and you're like, I will do what I can. What are you supposed to say? And yes, my theory, I do have a theory that she's the one who killed Cal. But I think that's an obvious one. Which makes me think it's probably not gonna happen. But because I also just wonder, like, they're in Colorado and distance and all of that. I have a lot of questions about the people who survived.
Because they had, I mean, obviously, as far as the president, his staff, I mean, I noticed, the one plane that went down was like Congress and the judiciary. So, it was clearly a lot of these people who were the 25,000 that were going to go to this bunker were going to be, it's really like continuity of government at this point. Especially as you see the other geopolitical things going on around, and it does, and also I think, we talked about whenever we were theorizing early on, like, are there other bunkers and paradises around the U.S. or around the world? And I think, clearly, I think this episode establishes that, there's, people knew that this was coming. Didn't know like when it was coming. Especially I thought it was pretty interesting whenever the president's like, bring the nerds in. And
wait.
Yeah.
So you still stand by the theory that there are multiple bunkers in the U.S.?
I don't know about in the U.S., but I do think that there are maybe some in other parts of the world.
Oh, yeah. That I can buy in. I don't think that I've never thought that there was more than one bunker in the U.S. That's not. If
there may be some safe house. It might be. I don't know if it's like the level of paradise. There might be some safe houses because the generals did say they were going to fly. They were going to like land in St. Louis. So.
But I don't. That was number 2, and they don't know how well the safe house would hold up. But this is speculation for another time because we've kind of jumped ahead inadvertently and failed to talk about the nuclear football of it all and the red codes versus blue codes, which is payoff to the cold open, because while they're on Air Force One, Cal has not a meltdown, but his frustration escalates, and he's getting the word that there is pretty much about to be a nuclear attack, and so he has to make a decision whether or not to launch the nukes, and with the nuclear football, and that leads to Samantha trying to tell him what to do. And this again, like Cal, from what we've seen of him, I can appreciate, and this is across the board for all the characters. All the characters here are consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, this is one of the few times when we've seen him really be a leader and be authoritative and clearly know. It's always been in him. Like you don't have a father like he did and not have that in you. It's just that the father has always kind of smothered that out of him because my father says go.
Yeah.
So, but he's the one, and he's just tired of everyone else making decisions, and he decides. And what I can also appreciate is because it's Cal, it's like not everyone even realizes this.
Right.
Like what he actually did, which we learn that general who we saw at the beginning of the episode built a fail-safe and a set of blue codes. And now correct me if I'm wrong, Will.
Yeah.
So essentially what we're told is the blue codes will turn off everything in the world.
Yeah, it's an electromagnetic pulse. Yeah. So it's yes. So it's EMP and so
question. How was the plane still flying after?
So that was the tracking. So that's when, as Cal, two things. One, just wanted to get to what you were saying with Cal, and then I'll answer the question about why the plane was up. Really, to your point about characters being consistent, and this was very much the case. And I could not help but think about the first episode, when Cal and Xavier, when they had the initial interview, because again they referenced that in this episode too.
Yep.
But the thing that he talked about was just, how he wanted to be a school teacher, and we, all his background. But the thing that he said was he just, he knows that at the end of the day, he's hoping he's a decent enough person I'm paraphrasing, but decent enough person to be able to be behind this desk and make the hard decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And to that point, when we saw, all the buildup with him, look, like you said, seeing the janitor, talking to him, and just say, look, it's going to be bad, you should leave, and basically telling the American people the truth. When the chips were down, Cal did the right thing, and like you said, it was to give everyone a choice. And again, it was that moral dilemma that we saw between him and Sinatra, where Sinatra was like, no, Yeah, don't, just set off the attack. So, because, she was really wanting to like make sure that this the paradise would give the 25,000 a real chance to restart the human race, and of course, to get to your second point, yeah, with the pulse, when I think he said whenever he activated it, it was like about 20 minutes to landing. So when you saw on the screen, you could see like the pulse like track, growing across the globe. So I guess, so he calculated, again, with all the training and protocols and stuff, he calculated, like, he knew that if they were about 20 minutes out from the bunker, that, as far as the impact of the EMP, they would be able to land. And clearly, and clearly when they designed, the facility, they made it, they had definitely some countermeasures to the EMP. So that's why all the computers and stuff are still working there.
Right. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure I understood about why the plane was still in the air after he did what he did. But I thought that the conversation between Samantha and Cal was interesting just because the previous episode, the parallel with the conversation to shut down Paradise. When that's like you shut it down and we go back into like that first day and everyone realizes they're in a cave. And it was so similar, and to see the choice that she made, like technically both of them made the same choice because they both shut it down. Even though the alternative for Samantha was not as high stakes as it was for Cal. But yeah, I appreciated that parallel between the previous episode.
Yeah. And also the episode prior to that, when we see their final conversation the day of his death, as far as who's in charge of Paradise. Even I just think it just, again, this I'm so glad that they held the actual day of events to the penultimate, because it just pays off all the things that we've seen in the prior 6 episodes. Really resolves a lot of questions, but there's still some, many that are still out there. Namely, who is the real killer? Because we do learn that, as you noted, the DNA didn't match anyone in the system, in the bunker.
In the bunker, it did not match anyone in the bunker. So it came from, supposedly it came from someone outside.
Yeah.
And I say that just because I wouldn't put it past a writer to come up with some way where like there was a switch, and anyway. But what?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I still like all at this rate, guys, you should have jumped on the moment I said it, and when we were talking the pilot, Terry killed Cal. Okay, come on. So obvious.
I don't think it's Terry though. I don't think she has time.
She had 3 years.
Yeah, true. But I mean, I don't know. I think that
I don't know. But I would also like to point out, second episode, I said at that point, I was like, we have not met the killer.
You did say that. You did say
that. I
did
say that verbatim, and Will shot me down hard. He was like, hell no, it's totally some blah, blah, blah. No. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that's what I'm going with. we don't know, and it's a theory. So my odds are in my favor that I am correct.
Yeah.
I still secretly want it to be Terry.
But we have met Terry though, so it can't be her now.
Oh, well, yeah, we have met her now, but not when I said it.
Not when you said it, yeah.
Not in the second episode. Like,
Yeah.
we're still led to believe that she died, which is total bullshit. It smelled that a mile away. We knew she was alive.
Yeah, we did say that. Yeah.
Yeah, which she's alive. But so are a bunch of other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those were a lot of calls, a lot of stuff, the whole rebuilding. And yeah, I don't know how next week is going to go with the finale or anything. But what I will say is that all this episode did for me, besides the things that I've previously mentioned, is really make me want season 2 to just be like, okay, show us Terry's journey.
Yeah.
Because we've been stuck in paradise for 8 episodes, okay? I would like to, now that we've seen the events of the day, I would like to like watch a show that's just about those people, because that seems very interesting.
Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, basically, it totally does. I mean, basically, the rest of the world is back in the Dark Ages, roughly.
To be a have-not. And also someone, why I think Terry's perspective would be interesting is because she was on the list.
Mm-hmm.
And you could bring in some other people who we've seen in this episode too. But if they ever want to make a spinoff, I'm thinking they probably won't, knowing the showrunner, but who knows? Yeah. You could totally do one from the survivors.
I think that's I think you're actually right. I think what they'll do is they will have present day in paradise, as far as like, the fallout from the events of season 1, but also I think the flashbacks will be a mix of, like as you said, the journey for all the people who did make it on that day.
Who did make it and who did crash the bunker?
Yeah, yeah.
And then that whole thing.
Because they did, they sent the exposition out there, and we know Billy, they did note that they found someone when we were listening to the recordings on the tablet. So
and then they killed him.
Yeah, well, they killed
all of them.
Yeah.
Because which I like she made it very clear. I wasn't going to kill them. They wanted to bring someone back. And so they couldn't just kill that one person. They had to kill them all, because then word would have gotten out and all of that stuff. And I find that interesting. And then Samantha says to Xavier at the end of the episode, do you know where your daughter is? We already knew that this whole hostage thing was going to happen. I found it odd, though, if she's such a villain. Maybe this is just a villainary misstep. You basically give him what he wants, only then for you to pull out the leverage. Like, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to promise to get his wife back. You could have just used the daughter the whole time. But whatever.
Yep.
So she uses the daughter to because now she needs him to actually find the killer of Cal. Because now, I could be wrong, but to me, apparently Samantha ain't on the DL that the tablet has been found, and Jeremy last episode was holding a whole court of people explaining the tablet. So I don't know. It's still a mystery to me about Samantha's motive on finding the killer, because before it was just about the tablet, but the tablet's free now, and
the tablet,
that secret's gonna but she still wants to find the killer. So
So the tablet's still out. The tablet's out in the open now. Jeremy, we say, if you watched the preview, we saw the night of when Xavier shut that.
Oh, I did not watch the preview. I did not watch the preview.
Okay, I won't say anything then.
Okay.
Yeah. But folks, if you have watched it, if you know, you know. The night of the incident, though, when Xavier did take things over, I mean, Jeremy was already, like I said, he was already out there talking, and the things have been set back, and the other person that we didn't see in this episode was Gabby Darabi.
Yeah. That's why I like this episode.
Yeah. But what her role in all of this also, as we move forward now, given that things have been reset within Paradise, how what's her role in all of this, and what Cal was clearly going to her to get therapy, as far as just dealing with the consequences of his decision, and also just to show, and also just, and again, getting back to their motivations. I know we got wrapped around in semantics last week about why Sinatra and Tharabi, his motivations for keeping the experiment going, I guess it's somewhat of a social engineering experiment for Tharabi, and Samantha, I guess, is just her private little therapy thing, as far as a memorial to her son. Yeah, so that's the sort of one of those wild cards, and I think it'll maybe have something. I don't know if it'll play into the larger discovery of someone, of people being outside of the bunker, if Tharabi knows that or not.
Okay, so you're confusing me. So you're speculating right now on the next week's episode.
Yeah.
Okay, based off of the preview, and you think that
not the preview, just okay. off of what happened in episode 6, as far as like the knowing that Jeremy has the tablet out there in the open, knowing now that people in the bunker have been reset,
right?
And what role Tharabi is going to have in helping out, helping either Sinatra or helping Xavier, with getting his daughter back from. Yeah. Because I still think she's the wild card here.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't care about her at all. I just, plain and simple, do not care. She's a pick-me girl. She fucked him on the 2nd episode. Good riddance. Don't care. She's the most inconsistent out of all of them.
I don't think she's inconsistent at all. I think she's a wild card. I mean, that's been her consistency. She's just unpredictable.
Sure. But I also feel like you give her way too much credit. But yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, out of the only thing I can really say is what they showed us about her and her history with especially Samantha, is that her whole, prior to actually being in there, like, she's the architect.
Yeah.
The social one. She picked the people.
Yeah.
Okay. And she also specifically, and I don't know how much Samantha was involved in it, but I know Samantha was not very much involved in the picking of Xavier. That was all Tharabi. And that right now, there is why I call her a pick me girl. But so that parallel with Cal in this episode having to face people, knowing he hasn't been truthful about the toll that this is going to occur, or what is coming, so people could be in the right place and be with the people. Like, there was no preparation. Like, that held a weight. And from what we saw in that 2nd episode with Tharabi, she was also dealing with that weight as well, knowing that she had picked people, but also being haunted by the faces of those she had to say no to.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I can really delve into her character. I don't think beyond that she really knows. Like I feel like it was clear. I feel like she knew, I forget how and when, but it did come to light, like she's aware that there were people, and because she kept hounding Samantha about like, what are you hiding?
Yeah.
And then she couldn't believe, like, oh, we could be up there.
Yeah.
Like what? So yeah. But anywho, I think we covered it all.
Yeah. I think we hit all the major points for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and then now we have to summarize the most recent 2 episodes of Invincible that we both were talking before the show, and kind of have the same opinion about, where it's just these 2 episodes are filler, and they just, I could see the points that they were trying to move things along. I mean, the first episode, You Were My Hero, has this like very odd setup.
Yeah.
where Mark is on a date, and the next thing we know, these people show up, Fight Master and Dropkick, and he's suddenly taken to the future, where there's a villain conqueror or leader there who they need Mark to defeat on their behalf. And because we're dealing with time travel, there is a cool passing of the marks where you kind of realize or are tipped off at the beginning that he makes it out alive, but he ain't too happy about it.
Nope.
And that's because when you deal with Invincible and you deal with time travel, Mark inevitably kills someone.
Yep.
Okay. Whether it's time travel or dimension, if you go through a circle spinning thing, he ends up killing someone. And I like that line where after he does it, they come back and is like, thank you, and he's like, don't thank me for that.
It's when you want it. That's not a reason to kill someone. Yeah, and it's someone who we're talking about here. Clearly, you've watched. If you're listening to us, you've watched the episode, and Mark in episode 4 comes with Immortal. Yeah, so
which I would have loved this if it was just more entertaining. There was something about the setup, the Dropkick Fight Master of it all, which one of them is voiced by the same actor who plays in Cobra Kai.
Oh yeah.
It's the same actor. I'm blanking on his name, but I did see it on IMDb that it was voiced by him.
Okay.
But there was just something about, whether it be the pacing or the too on the nose writing of it all, that it just didn't work to me. I just felt bored, and I just felt not engaged or entertained at all about it. It was just like, okay, I get where this, get it. I understand. He killed again, which kind of jumps off of the beats we were talking about last week with the first 30 episodes about how he is, like, Mark is putting on a face but he hasn't really dealt with the fact that he killed Armstrong, and now he has Oliver, who has also now killed, and it's like the whole, I don't want to be like my father, who's a mass murderer.
I thought this episode, it was fine. I mean, as we were talking beforehand and to share with our listeners now, I felt like, this is like the trouble with Invincible, where it sometimes has difficulty merging to. And it happens about this. It really does happen at fourth, fifth episode, where the series just sort of muddles along and has difficulty. I mean, you're right. It did carry some of the things. The second half of the episode definitely carried things forward as far as the narrative with Alan and Omni-Man.
Oh, can I say, are you talking about Alan the alien locked down but not locked out?
Yep.
Or no, I'm sorry, but not out. That's the full title. I do love how they always manage to do that with Alan.
Yeah.
The first time we were introduced with him, it was like this.
Yeah, because I will say, when the episode transitioned to that storyline, then I was like, okay, I'm in. And I think it's just I just really enjoyed this Alan and Seth Rogen and just Omni-Man in general. I mean, those are just two very interesting characters. Whereas Mark, you're right.
I'm not on the same page about that. I thought the whole episode, and it's just because it was all fighting. Like I normally really like Alan, and all of the few moments we got of him and Nolan talking, or him and Battle Beast talking, were funny. But I was disengaged for probably 90% of like this whole episode because it was all fighting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was too. I mean, to be honest, I mean, even though I was more engaged than I was with the first part, because I don't know, it just the whole time travel stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm just over time travel and stories and stuff at this point.
Flash PTSD.
Yeah. Totally. But I think it was just. I think the parts that you just said were engaging. Yeah, I mean, after a while, the fight stuff, I did sort of like, okay, I get it. Yeah, but
it's not. I mean, it depends on the stakes of it all, and at this point, we're fighting nameless Viltrumites, and we know he's going to kill the immortal, and they stretch it out 5 minutes too long.
Yeah.
And it's just when you know the outcome and there's no stakes, it's kind of like, okay, let's just get through this.
Yeah.
But we do find out at the end of the episode that Nolan reveals that there are only 50 pure-blooded Viltrumites in the galaxy.
Yeah.
And that's the key to their defeat. So they do come out with that little piece of knowledge, which leads us into the fifth episode. This was supposed to be easy. And I think the problem with this episode is, again, a lot of fighting, a lot of action, and also a lot of time spent with storylines and people I could care less about.
I mean, the whole multi-Paul and duplicate.
And in the background you just have Eve and Mark, who I can appreciate the self-acknowledging. These two characters are moving way too fast, but whatever. Remember when he was with Amber 5 minutes ago? Yeah. And she is confronted, and it's like, why is everybody being way so cool about this whole thing? But between that and Titan and trying to understand the order, I'm just like, I don't care. I don't know why we're here. But I have a lot less about like nuggets to there was a moment with Oliver and bullies.
Mm-hmm. I did like that part. I did like. That was probably the most engaged I was with the episode, was because I was, especially given, Mark keeping an eye on him and worried that he was gonna just pummel these guys. But I was like, sometimes you just don't need to like have just gratuitous violence. You can just like embarrass these guys, and they work perfectly.
He's still a kid.
He's still a kid, yeah.
So. And he is learning lessons. It's just, I mean, so we have that moment, but that's about it. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean,
I just I think with the Invincible story, it's very interesting how now we're like episode 5 of season 3 in, and we've watched everything before this, that I feel like there are aspects of this show that really work. I'm fully engaged in, fully all in. And then there are aspects that, because I've never been on board with,
yeah,
I just always check out
yeah,
when
yeah.
like you can expect a season of Invincible is gonna have a Guardian episode, and I'm like, that's not an episode I'm gonna enjoy.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I will say I did enjoy the when
Rex?
gosh, yeah, Rex and I keep forgetting her name, that they were, they were in the grocery shopping, and
Ray.
yeah,
Rex and
um,
Ray.
yeah. I did like, yeah. So that was actually parts of the things that I did stand out for me, because it was just like, they're adjusting to life out, away from Cecil, and but also Rex, showing some real character growth here, um and so those moments I thought were very, very sweet. Actually, less grating than Mark and Eve at this point as far as relationships and stuff.
Yeah, I just they screwed. I'm sorry, they dropped the ball with the whole even markup at all. It should have been a will they, won't they this
Yeah.
season, and I thought we were gonna get that, and we got immediately yes, we will, and I'm like, oh, I don't want that. I want the will they, won't they of it all.
Yeah,
I need
yeah.
to be rooting. I can't, I need to understand.
Yeah, and maybe it's true to the source material. I don't know. I have not read the Invincible comic,
Right.
so I don't know. Will freely admit that. So, but you're right. I mean, it have that will they, won't they. To your point earlier, it just seems like, just a minute ago he was with Amber, and now all of a sudden he's like he and Eve are like head over heels. And I mean, it's always that tension's always been there.
But
But
you gotta give respect to your previous relationships.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, and they do try to address it, I guess, in episode 2 or 3, but with Amber moving on and all that, but still,
yeah, it's so weird. It's
yeah,
still weird for
yeah,
a viewer. It's a bit of a mind fuck.
yeah, yeah, but
Um,
overall, like I said before, there's I, to your point, there's things I like about this series, and there's things that when I was watching these 2 episodes, I was like, oh yeah, I remember why we like sort of put the show on the shelf for a while last year. Yeah, and these 2 episodes that really captured it. Yeah.
Only to return and really enjoy like the next few episodes.
Yeah. So yeah.
So it's just par for the course. It's not a perfect season of television, but I hopefully it'll return to form next week. We'll only be covering 1 episode because we're only 1 episode behind, right? Or are we still behind?
We'll be, tonight's episode, and then I think so we'll be just 1 week behind, because last week we had the Captain and Captain America. Yeah. And actually, next week we'll have Daredevil.
And next week we'll have Daredevil. My God.
We're here.
The nerves. Did you hear that? So maybe we will skip Invincible next week to set up a 2 episode review, because that seems to be working for us with Invincible.
Yeah.
And focus on finishing Paradise and starting Daredevil. I don't know what I'm more excited for, to watch Daredevil or to listen to Will's thoughts about Daredevil, because he'd never watched the first season.
Yes. This is new for me. This will be like, I mean, I watched maybe a handful, maybe 1 or 2 episodes of the first season of Daredevil on Netflix, and that's it. So
Well,
it's
put it for me.
so basically, I'm going into this as a Daredevil version as far as TV show.
Yeah. Let's keep those episodes you did see on the DL. Okay, let's keep it virgin. Yeah. We haven't had Will be a virgin in a while, ever since The Last of Us.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. and House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon too.
Yeah.
Man, coming off of those, man, Daredevil better deliver, because those are some hard acts to follow to get you invested in those.
Well, so I am going to see what this is all about. So, yeah.
Well, season 2's already been greenlit, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I think I was seeing where Marvel was really. I think they were trying to, and it's been greenlit, and I think there's no like big delay either. I mean, they're gonna
and they
drop
just
next year. Yeah, I think they're trying to drop it early. Yeah.
And they announced something. I saw something about Punisher is going to make a special, an appearance between the two seasons and a special event later this year. So John Barnthal, you got to. You got him on the roster. You best be using him. And on that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on all the socials at Will M Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me there too at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at CNN Nerd. Friend us on Facebook. Follow us on Blue Sky at CNN Nerd. And follow us on Instagram and Threads at scene_n_nerd. And visit our website, www.scenenerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you hear podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.